What's up, folks, and welcome to Indie Ramble. So, I've got a tiny little curiosity for you today. What if you took a roguelike, turned it into an arena shooter, added melee spikes to it, and only charged $3 for it? Yeah, that's what we're taking a look at today. This is a very interesting concept. So, this is Impaler. And full disclosure, I did do a little bit of playtesting for this game before its release. I wasn't compensated for it in any way, but I still feel it's important to put that out there. And yeah, this is very small, very focused, but I honestly think it's pretty cool, and I've been enjoying it. And even if they charge more for it than they are, I still think it would be a pretty good deal, honestly. So this has... You would think, taking a look at this game, that, and the price of it in particular, that this was one of the many games trying to capitalize on the sort of wave-based survival shooter thing that Vampire Survivors kicked off earlier this year. That's really not what this is at all, because, well, as you can see, it's not an auto-firing game for starters. You gotta fight your own battles in this. It plays very much like a first-person shooter, and in many ways, it plays a bit like a boomer shooter, and even looks like one a little bit as well. It's very much its own beast. And this comes to us from a small developer who has made a couple of games, but also has made toys and other things like that as well. They're kind of an interesting sort of small creative collective, I guess you'd say. It's kind of cool, actually. And I think this is an interesting experiment all around, both because of the price and just because of the focus thing that they're trying to do here. So, you're seeing what's going on here. So, every run of this game is limited. It's not unlimited. You have a certain number of waves to get through and a large-scale boss at the end. And you're scored on how you perform in various ways through that. And this is very much a score attack game, even though it does have some roguelike elements in it as well. Unfortunately, there's no online leaderboards in this. I get it. For a game that's as cheap as this one, that's a bit of an ask to implement something like that. I get it. And really, for the price, you can't complain too much. But anything that has, you know, a score attack element these days and doesn't have online leaderboards, I just like to mention, because I just feel it adds that extra competitive element that can really make you, you know, want to put more time into a title. Personally, I think it adds more longevity to a game, but at least it does for me. So, you'll clear out a wave, and these waves are randomly generated, though they do increase in difficulty, so not every run is the same. You gotta take all the enemies out, you'll encounter a number of different types, and in later waves you'll also have this. So, how you purchase upgrades in this game for your runs is achieved by collecting gold. Every 50 gold you get an upgrade. If you complete a wave with 100 gold or more, you can get 2 upgrades. Things like that. There is quite a catalog of upgrades in this that I'll show you after this, and you unlock new ones as you go, or you can encounter ones that you've already picked up before. It's random what you're assigned. And there are upgrades that can impact your guns, that can impact your character, can impact your spikes, all sorts of different elements that you can choose from here. So, as you saw at the beginning there, when you start, so here we go here, so here's one. So this is an upgrade for my spikes I haven't yet unlocked, so I will unlock that and be able to see it in the future by doing so. And this is one that adds bullet time attack here. So, yeah, speaking of bullet time, let's talk how the combat works. So, you pick one of 6 different weapons when you start the game. They all play very differently. I personally wouldn't say any of them are unbalanced. They all provide a different play experience, but they all give you a solid shot at beating, at getting through the game really well. I haven't found any one particular weapon gave me an unfair advantage or held me back. So that's quite good. But it does change a lot, and you can sort of choose on whatever style that you want through that. You have unlimited ammo. You don't have to pick up any ammo, but every gun does have a heat meter. So you fill that up, and you gotta wait for the gun to cool down a little bit. Different guns, which obviously do more power per shot, will generate heat more quickly. So you have to do that, and then by using the right mouse button, at least in that's the button I'm using in this case, because I'm on keyboard and mouse, you will drop out spikes. Now, by killing enemies, they'll drop gold. And as I said, you need the gold for upgrades. In later levels, I don't think I explained it either, you'll see that this sort of chalice thing appears, And if you can push that while the level is going on onto its target, which will change every time it spawns in, you get an extra little boon of gold there. Optional, but helpful. And what the spike... So when you kill an enemy, they'll drop gold. If you kill an enemy with a spike, they will drop gold and health. So it gives you... It's not a lot of health, but if you can kill a number of enemies this way in rapid succession, you have the option to heal yourself if you're in a bit of a bad way. So that's how you actually regen your health in this. A lot of roguelikes either don't let you regen health at all or make it a very rare occurrence. In this, it's a core part of the gameplay, which I very much like. Let's pick that one. And penetrating bullets is always a nice one. There we go. And you see your active upgrades stack up there in the left. So, yeah. So you've got your health meter on the left. My fat head is obscuring the heat meter for the gun, but that's displayed on the right. And you can see there, when it fills up, your gun stalls for a minute while it cools back down. In these levels, you'll see that enemies spawn in different configurations, and also various different types of these pillars will fall down to obstruct you, to obstruct either your progress or your bullets. But they are all destroyable. It's just, you know, the wooden ones take less damage than the stone ones, etc. You know, relatively simple concept there, right? Some levels also have a jump power-up, and you can jump just barely on your own. But if you get thrown up into the air, either by enemies or by one of the jump points, you will do a large area of effect damage when you land on the ground. So if you land in the middle of a large group of enemies, you can take a whole pile of them out at once. Sometimes it wouldn't be a proper boomer shooter if sometimes exploding barrels didn't spawn in. They have a decent area of effect that can damage and or take out enemies as well. And you're always rewarded more for taking out crowds. So if you can take out a number of enemies at once, it will be to your advantage in terms of not only thinning out the herd, but giving you more reward for it. And as you can see, the types of enemies in this vary quite a bit. They're all weird, they're all demonic, they all, you know, they don't seem to really have any connection to each other. This is very much a, hey, you're in an arena with demons, why not? I mean, there's no story to this, literally none. This is all about the challenge, and it's all just about maximizing your run. Now, how hard is this game? It's not unchallenging. Here's the jump thing I was telling you about. But that said, I have beaten this multiple times now, as in completed a full run, taken out the final boss, and ended up back at the menu. But this is something that you're meant to play many, many times. Again, to try out all the different classes and weapons, to try out different combinations to get all the unlocks, of which there are many, and to, again, maximize your score. You know, that's the point of this. This is not a one-and-done affair. I mean, you could, but you're kind of doing it wrong if you buy it for that. So, you also saw I had a slowdown effect there, so that's what that meter is at the top. If you kill enough enemies rapidly enough, you will go into slow-mo. In slow-mo, you are not only invulnerable, but your weapon doesn't heat anymore. So, it's a great way to take out, you know, a large crowd quickly and with minimal amount of risk, because while you can't take any damage in bullet time, you can still heal. So, good way to really take the risk out of things. You just got to watch it, because if it, kind of like what happened there, if bullet time ends and you're in the middle of a gnarly crowd, well, that could go bad for you really, really quickly. So, you can see here the maps, if you don't, the later maps can start getting pretty gnarly in terms of the obstacles and things like that if you don't thin things out. And while the enemy AI in this is not the most advanced in the world, the enemies do know how to navigate around things, and even though most of the enemies do come straight at you, they know how to navigate around things. They won't get stuck. You know, if they can find a path to you, they will. And other enemies, like these weird head things here, have the ability to shoot projectiles through obstacles, and other enemies are fully airborne as well. So, you know, you have to keep your head on a swivel in this game and really pay attention to where everything is coming at you from and how it's doing it in order to do this. You're gonna have to juggle a lot in the later levels. Plus, you gotta watch your weapon heat, which is increased by the spikes, by the way, much less so than your guns will. But nonetheless, you've got to watch that too. So you're gonna have a lot of balls in the air while you're playing this. And it is not unchallenging, but compared to a lot of roguelikes, this is pretty much a walk in the park, comparatively speaking. Yeah, I've played it a fair bit, and I have enjoyed it a lot. You know, I think they could have charged more for this than they are, but I also think it was smart to price this on the lower end of the scale. Honestly, if this was like a $10, $15 game, I would have a hard time recommending it for what it offers. The amount of content in this is pretty low, but even though the random, you know, the random generation and things like that does add a lot to it, and as you can see here, now we've got these blades going around in the level. The levels do get more and more and more gnarly as time goes on, and those saw blades, you got to pay attention to those, because you can definitely get caught by surprise with them if you're not careful. So yeah, it's the amount of content is low, but this game is very focused, and you know, I do respect smaller projects that are trying to do one thing or a couple of things really well instead of trying to do everything half-assed, you know? And that's what I like about this. It knows what it wants to be. Its vision is very narrowly focused, and they just decided to focus on making their core shooting and spike mechanics work well and giving you a lot of different upgrades that you can play with, and not overburdening the game with too many mechanics, too many, you know, different types of things to manage. And they've made something where it's challenging and you have to look after a lot of things, but not to the degree that some roguelikes do. And don't get me wrong, I like roguelikes that do that, but some of them, you know, you've got to manage a lot. And if you get far in a run in a roguelike and you die because you weren't paying attention, or you had too many things that you had to keep in your head, well, that runs over and that's kind of the end of it, you know? Whereas this, the runs are so short, it doesn't really matter. You can just fire up another one and get going really quick. And the nice thing with this is even a full run of this is only going to take you maybe 15-20 minutes from end to end. So it's one of those games you could play on a break or something like that. You don't have to put a lot of time into one session. It doesn't demand a lot of you. And obviously, I think it does a pretty good job of the boomer shooter look, but that means it'll also run on a potato. You could probably run this on like a work laptop. You could easily run this on a Steam Deck or something like that. So, you know, it really it's just a good, simple, fun game. It's aiming to be simple, you know, and it knows exactly what it is and what it's trying to be, and it does quite well at that, I think. You know, will this be for everyone? No. If you like more in-depth roguelikes and that's really what you're looking for, yeah, not so much. You know, if you want something that has bigger arenas or story to it or things like that, yeah, that's probably not going to do much. This probably won't do much for you either. But if you like arcade-style arena fun, if you like score attacks, admittedly, you know, with local leaderboards only, but if you like score attack stuff, and you just like something that's challenging but not too challenging, but also gives you a lot of ways to play and replay it, then... And I mean, $3 freaking, you know what I'm saying? I mean, there are asset flips on Steam that sell for more than that. And this is definitely not an asset flip. This is a game that has had some real effort put into it, you know, and real... it had a real idea and a vision behind it. It absolutely did. And yeah, I've been enjoying it. I enjoyed it when I playtested it, and I've been enjoying it more since release. Since I playtested it, the core of it has not changed very much, but they have made some improvements. They did some improvements to the UI that have helped some. I think the balancing is a little bit better. This actually was during the playtest. There were elements of this that I think did get overly hard to the point of being, you know, rather petty, and they seem to have dialed that back some, and in a way that I do think makes the game better for it. So I think that's pretty good here. So I'm going to end the run here just so you can see some things. So this shows you all of the different stats here and what your score is as a result of that. And then, yeah, these are all the upgrades you can get. I don't even have them all yet. And you can see there's quite a menagerie available here. Unfortunately, they didn't put in the ability, like you can see what the upgrades will do when you grab them in the game, but it doesn't show that here. So other than the symbols, you can't tell what anything is. which is kind of a bummer. I wish they'd have corrected that, but yeah. So that's basically what you've pretty much seen the bulk of this here. As I said, very simple, but it does what it does really well, and you can do a lot worse for only $3. Honestly. You can do a lot worse for a lot more money than this, frankly. I think this is an interesting experiment that this developer and Retrovibe is a publisher that I've really come to like and respect. They put out a lot of really good stuff lately, and it's all stuff that's sort of modern games with sort of retro inspirations behind them. And I think this is an interesting experiment. Putting anything out on Steam for only $3 it is a bold experiment, because you obviously got to sell a lot to make any decent money, and plus a lot of people see Steam games in that price range and just assume they're shovelware, you know, and this is not. It's a game that's not going to be for everybody, but it's definitely not shovelware. So I applaud the experiment. I applaud them taking that sort of business risk, I guess you'd say. But I like stuff like this. You know, Vampire Survivors showed that you can make a game that has a lot of depth and a lot of fun to it for not a lot of money and still do very well at it. I mean, Vampire Survivors has made that developer a fudge ton of money. So, I like to see more creative and business risks being taken like this. I think this little subgenre of, I don't want to call it a micro game because it's more than that, but these lesser expensive, smaller, more focused titles, I love to see this stuff, especially stuff that has this more mechanics arcade focus to it. I love seeing that, and I'd like to see more of it. So I definitely recommend checking this out. It's been a good time. I've had fun with it, and yeah, price really can't be beat. So yeah, that is Impaler. It is out now. Definitely recommend taking a look at it. I mean, if you've watched to this point and you know, you think this is interesting, it's not only really cheap, Steam still has that refund policy. So if you really don't like it that much, you can get your $3 back and go buy yourself a latte or something. So yes, indeed. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. I do appreciate it. If you like what you saw here, please do all the normal YouTube things, like, subscribe, hit the bell, leave a comment down below. Tell me, what do you think about this? Is this something you want to check out? Are there other games like this that are out right now that interest you or that might interest me? And, you know, what other kind of these sort of lower priced, smaller focused games would you like to see? What would you like to see more stuff in this genre consist of? I'd like to know that as well. And as always, you can follow me over at twitch.tv/pxabstraction for multiple variety streams a week. I cover other indies as well as retro stuff over there, including games better suited to streaming than YouTube. We have a fantastic community there, and I'd love to see you be a part of it. Thanks again all, and I'll see you on the next Indie Ramble. You folks have yourselves a good one. Take her easy.